Yo, what's good? Amateur Lore here, and we're back today looking at some college football teams that were literally just a couple of games away from making the BCS National Championship game. We're keeping this intro short, so if you enjoy the content, be sure to leave a like and a sub. Anyway, let's jump right into the video. Alright, the first team we're going to be taking a look at today is the 2013 Baylor Bears. Now, I have covered Baylor before on this channel. I made a video a couple of months ago about teams that came out of nowhere and included the 2019 Baylor Bears. There was even a video I worked on a long time ago right before the National Championship game where I covered 2015 Baylor, but that video was on my old laptop that broke, so rip. Some of you might be shouting in the back, what about 2014 Baylor? And that season was lit, I know that, but I really think this 2013 Baylor football squad might have been the Bears' best chance of making the National Championship game in program history. Hey, I'm not saying win it all, I'm just saying make the natty game. And I know that sounds crazy, but the further we get into this video, the more I think you'll agree with that take. Going back in time to 2013, Baylor football was definitely on the rise, but not yet at its peak. After coming off 5 straight losing seasons under Guy Morris, the program would go in a new direction, hiring arguably their best head coach in program history in 2008. It would be a slow and steady build, but Baylor would start to show promise, going 4-8 in back-to-back years in 2008 and 2009. 2010 would be a big step up, winning 7 games as well as making it to a bowl game for the first time in a while. 2011 would be a program-defining season, winning 10 games as well as having their quarterback RG3 win Baylor's only Heisman to date. After RG3 would leave, naturally there would be a decline as the Bears would go 8-5 in 2012, but the fact that they stayed competitive after the 2011 season showed Baylor was turning a new leaf, no longer being the guaranteed win in the Big 12, instead turning contests into shootouts and track races. Which leads us to the 2013 football season, where I'll admit, I was really shocked to find out the media wasn't all too high on this Baylor football team. Looking through some of the old Big 12 preseason conference predictions, according to Bleacher Report, they had Baylor expected to finish 6th in the Big 12, and a big reason for that ranking had to do with 1. Baylor's terrible defense, and 2. The uncertainty at QB. But like we all know, I wouldn't be covering this team if that was the case. That was a short little intro, now let's take a look at some of the key figures making noise in Waco. Leading the program in his 6th year up to that point, at head coach we got the Baylor legend Art Briles. And I know he had a bad ending at Baylor, but man, what he did for this program was kind of insane. Like legit no cap during the early 2010s, Baylor was must-see TV. And during the 2013 season, things wouldn't be any different as this squad would lead the country in points per game, dropping 52.4 every Saturday. Now, the man in charge of running this well-oiled machine was QB Bryce Petty, who'd lead the Big 12 in passing yards with 4,200 and in touchdowns, passing for 32. Here's a fun stat that I was shocked to see. Bryce Petty rushed for 14 touchdowns in 2013. I wasn't familiar with your game, I apologize. Sliding over to the running back room, the man on this football team was running back Loch Seastrunk, who'd rush for 1,177 yards, which would also lead the conference, as well as punching it into the end zone 11 times. And finally, to round out this high-powered offense at the wide receiver position, we got Antoine Goodley, who'd catch 71 passes for 1,339 yards and 13 touchdowns. To open up the 2013 college football season, the Baylor Bears would honestly mow through their first 3 games of the season like it was no one's business, with their lowest points scored during these 3 games being 69. Nice. We're not going to spend much time on these little tune-up games because that's exactly what they were. Tune-up games as Baylor would defeat Wofford 69-3, Buffalo 70-13, and Louisiana Monroe 70-7. I don't think I've ever covered a team who started out their season dropping 70 burgers on teams so casually. Like, Baylor was legit making scoring touchdowns look so much easier than it really should have been. As a Florida fan, it can be extremely tough watching our offense sometimes, as they make a successful scoring drive look harder than getting laid. I guess what I'm trying to say is, damn, this Baylor team was electric. And after winning 3 easy games to start the season, the 3-0 17th ranked Bears were about to begin conference play, embarking on a 3-game stretch versus West Virginia, Kansas State, and Iowa State. Now, them scoring all those points was extremely impressive, don't get me wrong, but we gotta look at the competition. They hadn't really played anybody. So this 3-game stretch would really show the college football world if this Baylor squad was a contender or pretender.
6 plays a game, quickly back to work, up top, man coverage, splits the defense. There's the speed of Goodley, runs it in. Florida State. Now defensively for West Virginia, big series here. It's up top, Omar. What a catch! 3 as we roll up on a minute left in the half. Straight up the middle, Linwood. 7:50 at halftime, and a walk-in. 2nd down goal, Sam's under center. Oh, they push the pocket.
The State's been able to do that so far today.
Petty in the pocket, wants the deep ball, has a streaking Kevin Reese, and he's racing. That could be the one, and a touchdown. Petty throws, finds the seam on the hands of Goodley. Watch out, 20, 15, 10, 5. Touch, take the lead over 15th ranked Baylor. Sam's on a keeper. Inside he goes. 2nd down, play action, Petty. Once the deep ball's got him on the hands, rolling in, Reese, touchdown. Under center goes Petty. Martin breaks a tackle, he'll walk it in to see.
Seastrunk all the way to the sideline. And Seastrunk. Here comes that pressure. Got rid of it, caught by Goodley. Walks in untouched. Far from the line of scrimmage. There's plenty of opportunity for them to run downhill and make tackles versus the run. This is returnable for Norwood. Levi Norwood. Cuts back to the 30. On his way to the end zone. Touchdown, Levi Norwood. Corey Coleman. You gotta be kidding me. 97-yard touchdown.
The Baylor Bears would go 3-0 through this stretch of conference play, starting with the West Virginia Mountaineers, who they destroy 73-42. Something insane about this matchup was the fact that the Bears were up 56-14 going into halftime. If they really wanted to, they could have dropped 100 on West Virginia, but they decided to keep things classy, coasting in the second half. Easily the toughest game during the stretch was versus the Kansas State Wildcats, and although they'd win 35-25, the Bears would be down in the fourth quarter to K-State trailing 21-25. Literally right after the Wildcats would take the lead, Baylor would respond with a 5-play, 71-yard touchdown drive that would only take 1 minute. From there, the Bears would control the ball game, eventually pulling out the win 35-25. After their match with Kansas State, they would go back to dropping 70 points casually, taking down Iowa State 71-7, putting their current record on the season at 6-0. And since they played really good football through this stretch with their offense looking nearly unstoppable, they would move all the way up to the 8th spot in the latest polls. Baylor had come out of nowhere to climb their way into the top 10 and had officially popped up on people's radar as a team who could possibly shake stuff up and make a potential run to the BCS National Championship game. Now, while Baylor was having one of their best starts to a season in program history, they still officially hadn't beat a real contender. But that could all change in a couple of weeks, so they had a date with the 10th ranked Oklahoma Sooners. But first, they had to take down the Kansas Jayhawks on the road. Come on, we all know Kansas wouldn't stand a chance against this 2013 Baylor football team, as Baylor would easily win 59-14, totaling 743 yards of total offense in this rout of the Kansas Jayhawks. Okay, now sitting at 7-0 and ranked at the 6th spot in the latest polls, it was time for the Bears' toughest game on the season so far, a home game versus 10th ranked 7-1 Oklahoma Sooners. So far this year, Baylor had looked amazing, but there was still chatter about this team maybe being a little overrated because who were they really beating up on? It's not like any of those teams were real contenders. 10th ranked OU versus 6th ranked Baylor Bears. Could Baylor keep this incredible season going by taking down one of the Big 12 powerhouses? Or would the lights be too bright for a team who has never been in a position like this before?
Petty with time to the far sideline on top. And that kick is good. 4th and goal from the 1. Bell again gets stuck from their end zone. Petty from behind, he gets set. Goal from the 5. It's kept by Petty, dives to the end zone. Touchdown! Petty, his pass was slant, caught by Levi Norwood. Petty on the keeper, gets the shove. Touchdown! Petty pump fake to the end zone. Touchdown! Petty to throw to the end zone. Open receiver. Touchdown! Bell swings it out to Finch to the end zone. On first down, a shot. Linwood up the middle, breaks the tackle. Linwood breaks another tackle. And Linwood, 203 total yards. Petty taking the shot to the end zone. Touchdown! Play action on 2nd and 10. Another flag comes out. The pass. That is picked up. Dimitri Goodson back the other way. Goodson gets a block.
79. That penalty's
4th worst margin.
Baylor would play one of their best football games in program history, winning against the 10th ranked Oklahoma Sooners 41-12 in a dominant fashion. The Bears would own the box score, winning the total yardage battle, turnover battle, and time of possession battle. Bryce Petty would pass for 204 yards with 5 total touchdowns, and the team's backup running back, Shock Linwood, would tear a hole through the Sooners' defense, rushing for 182 yards, averaging nearly 8 yards every time he touched the football. And speaking of defense, before we move on, I have to give a big shout out to the entire Baylor defense, as they played one of their best games of the season and one of the biggest, holding the Sooners offense to under 237 total yards, forcing 2 turnovers while keeping OU from scoring a bunch of points, holding them to 12. Amazing win for Baylor, but unfortunately it wouldn't cause them to move up too much in the latest polls. Baylor would find themselves ranked 5th in the country. No cap, 2013 was kind of a stacked season, with there being 4 undefeated teams ahead of them being Ohio State, Florida State, Oregon, and Alabama. While Baylor had some work to put in still, the rest of those teams ahead of them in the AP had some pretty big games left on their schedule. So if the Bears could just keep it pushing, the BCS would have a really hard time keeping them out of prom. 8-0, ranked at the 5th spot in the country, the next team in the Bears' way of greatness was the Texas Tech Red Raiders, led by QB Baker Mayfield. This game was a neutral site matchup at Jerry World, and if you only watched the first quarter, you'd think you were in for a thriller, with both teams going back and forth, as the score going into the second quarter was Baylor 21 to Texas Tech 20. As for the rest of this game, Baylor would put belt to ass, outscoring the Red Raiders 42-14 and round to a 63-34 win. Yet another dominant performance for the Bears, and for their impressive efforts, they'd be awarded the 3rd spot in the latest rankings, tying their highest ranking in program history up to that point. Can anyone guess what other year they were ranked 3rd at one point in the season? If you said 1953, you're correct, and definitely look that shit up, because there's no reason that knowledge should be stuffed away in the back of your head. I'm just saying. Anyway, 9-0 ranked as the 3rd best team in the country, and I'm just going to put this out there. Some outlets had Baylor ranked 4th, but I'm just going to go with 3rd for this video because the website I was looking at had them 3rd at this point in the season. Anyway, so Baylor had one more team from Oklahoma left to conquer. Unlike last time though, the Bears would be on the road, not having the support of their adoring fans covered in green and gold. Instead, they'd be surrounded by 50K plus Polk stands, licking their lips at the chance of ruining Baylor's miracle season. 3rd ranked Baylor on the road at the 10th ranked Oklahoma State Cowboys. In a lot of the videos I have made on this channel, Baylor has ruined a lot of team seasons. I wonder how it would turn out with Baylor having more to lose.
First place is on the line, and for Baylor, the stakes are even higher. The high-flying Bears are in contention for a spot in the BCS Championship game. Petty's got the first down and more. 15, 10, 5, stumble. Now it is 3rd down and goal. Linwood couldn't make it on 2 attempts, and Oklahoma State saying they got the football, and yes, they do.
Field that Barry Switzer would love. Looks like a full house back there.
Chelf again, get a fire downfield, got a man open, got him again. 35, 20-yard line. Staley.
Going, that's throwing it.
First down from the 13. Shelf back again. Firing. Touchdown.
Offensive line
Lobs to one-on-one, and again, free touchdown, Tracy Moore. Shelf down the far sideline, lost in coverage. First down, and they flare it. They're going to throw it back now to the other side, and Shelf. First down, 40, 35, 30, 25, breaks free, 10.
Aggressive early in the year with a few of those.
Down and 10. Here comes a reverse and a throw off it. Touchdown.
It was a big gain, obviously, a nice run.
Play action to him this time. Woodley breaks free. Touchdown. Clearly. Bad snap. Penny goes back. Falls on it. Loose ball picked up. The Cowboys can have a touchdown. Patman racing for the end zone.
You hate to see it. Sadly, the Baylor Bears would lose to the Oklahoma State Cowboys 49-17. This game was ugly for the Bears. Their offense just couldn't get the ball into the end zone. And on the other side of the ball, their defense would be gassed all game. Baylor's defense would do a decent job in the first half, holding the Cowboys only 14 points. But when you have an offense like the Bears do, where they don't really hold the ball for too long, eventually if you're not sustaining drives and scoring points, a negative effect from that is going to be your defense being tired from being on the field too much. This loss was tough and it really sucked because maybe in most seasons, Baylor would have still had a chance to fight their way back into BCS Natty contention, but not in 2013. The field was just way too stacked, with teams like Auburn and Florida State having way better strength of schedules. It's crazy to think that if Baylor would have won this game and won out, they probably would have matched up with Florida State in the Natty, because if Baylor was undefeated with their historical offense, there was no way the BCS was keeping them out. Oh, what could have been. The Bears would be sitting at 9-1 with their ranking in the latest polls dropping all the way back to the 9th spot. While Natty was not happening, there was still a lot to play for, like making the BCS Bowl game and winning the Big 12. Baylor would come out sluggish in their next game versus a below-average TCU squad, but that was to be expected. I mean, they just lost one of the biggest games in program history. So I'm going to give them a pass for only taking down TCU 41-38. Baylor lollygagged against TCU, but in their final game of the regular season versus 25th ranked Texas, they would have to bring their A game, because with the win and an Oklahoma State loss, they would win the Big 12 title and secure themselves a spot on a BCS Bowl game. While the Natty was for sure the goal halfway through the season, those dreams were out of the window. But Baylor had still never won the Big 12 up to that point in program history. So this game versus 25th ranked Texas Longhorns would be a big one for the Baylor football program.
Rock and roll on a Saturday afternoon here in Waco, Texas. Craig Orjack, Joey Harrington, Ryan Neese will join us in just a moment. There's so many stories that surround this game. One being Mack Brown's future at Texas. The other, the final game of this old Floyd Casey Stadium. But yet we got a football game to play. Kicks away, short. Duke Thomas with the Niver, the tight end with the catch. Petty goes back to work quickly on a quick hit near side. Goodley breaks it to the 30. And the field goal is up and good. Backfield with McCoy. Texas putting together a nice drive. Brown pops outside. Spins out of a tackle near a first down. Try this from 42 yards off the far hash. Line drive kick. Petty throws. Tough catch. Climbs a ladder up top. Goodley stacked up. Clay Fuller, the motion man. Petty looks right. One-handed catch. Oh my! Touchdown.
Exposes himself to a big hit from Malcolm Brown.
Yeah, he got hit thigh high. Touchdown. Norwood.
Just try and drop one over the top to a tight end.
Let's see what happens. McCoy sets it all in motion. There's a play action. McCoy, he may have to run it himself. He's in trouble. Switches back. Goes the other way. Touchdown, Texas. Miller will get his time in the spotlight tonight. McCoy setting up a screen. Picked off. Morton can seal the deal. One man to beat. Touchdown.
Touchdown was scored. Unsportsmanlike conduct on the defense, number 6. Broker stride at the 3-yard line.
And inside the 20. Up the middle. Untouched. Touchdown, Martin. 18 yards. The Baylor Bears. First ever Big 12 title in our brows with 11 wins, a school record here in Waco.
What a fantastic job.
Baylor would win their final game of the regular season against the 25th ranked Texas Longhorns 30-10, capturing their first Big 12 title in program history. 11-1 being ranked at the 6th spot in the country, while the Bears were not going to be playing in the Natty, they would still be representing their conference in the Fiesta Bowl against the UCF Knights. This game would be a shootout with 90-plus points being scored between both teams, but unfortunately Baylor would fall short to the Knights, losing 52-42, putting an end to this historical season. It's really crazy to think that Baylor was just a game or two away from playing in the BCS National title game. But that's the thing about college football. Sometimes one little slip-up can keep you from reaching college football immortality. Leaving Texas, we head east to Alabama for the next team we're covering today, the Auburn Tigers. I really don't know why, but for the last couple of weeks I've been thinking about Auburn football a lot. The Auburn Tigers have always been one of the weirder football programs to me in all of college football. It's like they can have 3 straight average or slightly above average seasons, and then out of nowhere they somehow end up ranked inside of the top 5, competing for a spot in the BCS National Championship game. There's really no in between, and because of that I've gained a lot of respect for the fans of Auburn. Every season seems to be a heart attack waiting to happen, and not just from stress, but also from being so happy and excited. I know that 2013 miracle run Auburn went on had to be amazing, but at the same time I'm sure it was stressful as hell. And while 2013 would actually be the perfect team to choose from for this specific video related to seasons that ended in heartbreak, to be honest, I'm a little fatigued when it comes to covering the 2013 college football season. So I decided let's go back a couple of decades to 2006, when the Auburn Tigers would put together one of their best seasons of the 2000s. Alright, so coming into the 2006 season, Auburn was starting to assert themselves as one of the top college football teams in the SEC during the 2000s. Going back to 1999, the Tigers had just come off a very subpar season, going 3-8 in 1998 under their former head coach Terry Bowden. With the new head coach taking over the reign of this great program, it would take a while for Auburn to get back to their winning ways, as they would go 5-6 in 1999, 9-4 in 2000, 7-5 in 2001, 9-4 again in 2002, 8-5 in 2003. 2004 would be a huge step up for the program, as they would put together one of their best seasons in school history, going 13-0 with the Sugar Bowl victory, finishing the year ranked second in the polls with the SEC title to top it off. 2005 would be a slight step down as they would go 9-3, but Auburn was starting to play dominant football the loyal fans of Auburn had come to expect, and most importantly, being consistent. Which leads us up to the 2006 college football season, where the Tigers would be ranked as the 4th best team in the country, and when looking at some of the SEC Conference preseason predictions for 2006, it shouldn't be a shock that Auburn was predicted to win the SEC West and match up against the Florida Gators in the SEC title game. This Auburn team was loaded with 15 future NFL players, so I can't say I'm surprised majority of the college football world was expecting a natty or bust for this 2006 Auburn squad. That was a short little intro, now let's take a look at some of the studs making noise down in Auburn. Leaving the program in his 8th year up to that point at head coach, we got Tommy Tuberville. Auburn fans, let me know down below in the comments, where do you rank him all time on your coaching ladder? Y'all have had some great head coaches, so I'm curious to see where y'all rank him. Sliding over to the quarterback position, the man in charge of running this offense was Brandon Dick. Okay, I'm kidding, that's lame potty humor. It's actually QB Brandon Cox, who passed for 2,198 yards with 14 touchdowns. At first, I was for sure this Tiger squad had like a 1,500 yard plus running back, because how do you win so many games with a QB who passed for just above 2,100 yards? But I guess not, their defense was just really elite. Their running back Kenny Irons wouldn't rush for over 1,000, but he still did pretty good, finishing the season with 893 rushing yards and 10 touchdowns. To round out the offense, the man at wideout was Courtney Taylor, catching 54 passes for 704 receiving yards with 2 touchdowns. Before we move on to the season, I want to shout out defensive lineman Quentin Groves, who sacked the quarterback 9.5 times on the season. Also, sadly, while I was doing research for this video, I found out he passed away, so rest in peace. To open up the 2006 college football season, the Auburn Tigers would begin the year with 2 tune-up games versus Washington State and Mississippi State. Starting with the game versus Washington State, this matchup would be a pretty easy win for the Tigers, taking the Cougars down 40-14. Running back Kenny Irons would have himself a game, rushing for 183 yards and a cool touchdown, while the defense would do their thing, holding Washington State to only 274 total yards. First the Bulldogs, the Tigers would once again show their dominance over lesser competition, winning convincingly 34-0. Quarterback Brandon Cox would torch the Mississippi State defense, passing for 249 yards with 2 touchdowns. And on the other side of the ball, the Auburn defense would shut down the Bulldogs, holding them to under 161 total yards and forcing 5 turnovers. 2-0 and currently ranked at the 3rd spot in the country, Auburn was set to play in their first huge game of the 2006 college football season, as they'd be playing against the 6th-ranked LSU Tigers, led by future number 1 overall pick Jamarcus Russell. This game was going to be a bloodbath between 2 highly ranked football teams. Warning, if you love offense, you might want to skip past this part. If you love defense, settle in, you're in for a real treat.
Nothing like a football Saturday on the plains of Alabama. As Auburn weaves its way through the famed Tiger Walk, it has but one thought on its mind: early supremacy in the SEC West. For the LSU Tigers, it's the ultimate road test, which can jumpstart a season of so much promise. It's a September Tiger showdown with so much at stake. LSU, Auburn, the Home Depot SEC on CBS. And SEC football on CBS is underway. At the 1-yard line, Lester stopped, stood up, driven back inside from the 21-yard line. Cox, the lefty, stands in that pocket, but he stands too long in LSU. 3rd down. Cox, plenty of time, sets and fires over the middle. Intercepted. Craig Stelz on his feet, rumbling, and Taylor goes in motion. Cox out of the pocket, the lefty looking, throws it away. From 26 off the left hash. Vaughn, the punch. Oh, come on! Drive. 46 seconds left. Russell dropped it, watch out. Good recovery. Good snap, good hold, the kick is away. Got it. Perfect. Will not return with a hamstring injury. All wide open. It closed, then open again. 2 wideouts near side, 2nd down. Play action to the end zone. Nearly in a frenzy. Quarterback keep. Touchdown. Nothing for you. You have to find the end zone. Russell, the big fella, stumbles down to the 31.
I guarantee he's got a play set up for this exact situation.
Shotgun up top, Russell in the middle of the field, incomplete. But a flag is dropped at the 3-yard line.
Pass interference, defense number 38. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Zach, hold on.
Wow. I don't know how you can do that.
Russell shotgun. Clock runs dry to the end zone. Clock. Time runs dry. Auburn wins.
The Auburn Tigers would survive the threat of LSU at home, winning 7-3. Oh boy, watching these highlights was definitely a treat. I can't remember the last time I watched a game like this. Seeing a top 6 matchup only total 10 points is something you don't see very often. And although LSU would outgain Auburn by about 150 yards, the War Eagle defense would always stand tall when LSU was threatening to put points on the board. Some LSU fans might claim that pass interference at the end of the game was a little weird. I mean, to be fair, you don't see a ref announce a call and then take it back too many times, but what are you going to do? LSU would have a chance to tie the game late in the 4th quarter, but Auburn would stand tall, closing the game out with a 7-3 win against the 6th-ranked LSU Tigers. This win was obviously a big one. It would move the Tigers up 1 spot in the latest polls to the 2nd spot in the country. Auburn was now locked into one of the two natty positions, and all they had to do was just keep winning so they couldn't give the BCS another chance in 2004 them. Their schedule, while the SEC schedule, was still quite manageable, minus their game versus the top 3 Florida Gator football team in a couple of weeks. That matchup would have major BCS implications, but the Tigers still had 3 games in front of them before that versus Buffalo, South Carolina, and Arkansas. Buffalo wouldn't be too much of a problem for the second-ranked Tigers. They would win extremely easily 38-7. The Tigers' defense was amazing as usual. And on the offensive side of the ball, the man with his fingerprints all over this game was running back Ben Tate, who'd rushed for 114 yards and 2 touchdowns on only 7 carries. Next up during this little 3-game stretch was a road game versus the South Carolina Gamecocks. This matchup was a little bit tougher for the Tigers as Auburn would only be up 17-10 heading into the fourth quarter. The Tigers would strike first in the fourth, ending a 13-play 52-yard drive with a rushing touchdown. And although the Gamecocks would respond, making the final 8 minutes competitive, Auburn would hold on, winning 24-17. 5-0 and still ranked at the second spot in the country. After the Gamecocks, Auburn would come back home to face off against an unranked 3-1 Arkansas Razorback squad. I wish there was more to speak of from this game, but the honest truth is the Razorbacks put belt to ass on the Tigers. The Hogs would rush the ball down Auburn's throat, with Darren McFadden rushing for 145 yards with a touchdown, and Felix Jones rushing for 104 yards with a touchdown as well. It shouldn't shock you guys that the Hogs would take down the Tigers 27-10. And when you have 2 rushers going over 100 yards on the day and averaging well over 5 yards every time they touch the ball, you're going to be in for a long day. And it just happened to be Auburn's turn. While a rough loss, the Hogs would end up winning 10 games this season. So with Auburn falling back to the 11th spot in the latest polls, there wasn't too much to really be worried about, as there was still plenty of football left to be played. And with their next game being against the now second-ranked Florida Gators, if they could bounce back and knock out Florida, then they'd be right back in the driver's seat to make the BCS National Championship game. This matchup versus a loaded Florida squad was going to be tough, but the one thing Auburn had going for themselves was they were the host for this humongous game, meaning the second-ranked Florida Gators would have to venture to Jordan-Hare. And for those who don't know how tough it is to play at Pat Dye Field, here's a quote from Joe Burrow. "This one trumps Penn State. It was louder. I could barely hear myself think." 11th ranked Auburn versus the 2nd ranked Florida Gators.
The flight of Nova, the War Eagle, is perhaps the most beautiful of all college football rituals. It is a legend born during the Civil War where an Auburn student turned soldier and a baby eagle were the only things left alive on an abandoned battlefield. The student returned to Auburn with the eagle, and the legend lives on. Joey Ehas will tee it up for the Florida Gators. Tristan Davis is the deep man, and he waits just outside his goal line. Davis averaging 27 yards per kickoff return. Great scene here at Auburn and a perfect night for football. Temperature in the 60s. It will be going down into the 50s. They are really pumped up here after that loss last week to Arkansas. Leak waits his turn. High end over end to the goal line. Tristan Davis knocked it. And I hope you saw the graphic on the Gators. They have committed more penalties than anybody in the country. Stewart inside. And Vaughn. Leak with time, floats this one for the end zone, tipped, and Baker. Cox again. Wanted Stewart out in the flat, now throws over the middle of the truck. The tight end lost the ball. Was he down or wasn't? Irons. Down at the 49-yard line. Harvin again. Tries to cut back, bounces off of Blackman. And Harvin! Look at the speed! Holy cow, what a run! He'll be in the shotgun, takes a snap, and there goes Tebow. 230-pound touchdown! And 1:44 to go here in the second quarter. Draw play, Lester. A lot of room to run. Lester, 30, 25, still on his feet. They try to take 4-yard kick by Vaughn, who's already made 2. Pressure coming on Leak. They got him. Eric Wilbur to kick to Dunn. Look out. And they got him. Loose ball. Touchdown Auburn. makes the win. Looking to throw fumble. Yeah, they put the thing down. Picked up by Blackman.
After review, the ruling on the field stands.
Gators have loaded up the far side. Baum delivers this time. Hook and ladder. Picked up by Auburn. And the Auburn Tigers will win.
Wow, this game was an absolute banger, and even though I love the Gators with all my heart, they would get outplayed by the 11th ranked Auburn Tigers, losing 27-17. Man, this game sure was a roller coaster, although there was a good portion of this matchup where it felt like Florida might have the edge. But I think the point in this game where things clearly started to lean towards Auburn was when they came out of halftime and stopped Florida on their opening drive, and then proceeded to block their punt and return it back to the house for 6, giving them a very, very slim 18-17 lead. From there, it would be extremely difficult to come by points, with the field goal being the only point scored after the block punt, until garbage time when Florida tried to pull off some last-second miraculous play and would turn the ball over, leading to an Auburn score as the Tigers would win this big-time football game 27-17. Before we move on, I want to shout out the entire Auburn Tigers defense, as they were the real MVPs of this ball game, holding the Florida offense to under 279 yards, as well as forcing 4 huge turnovers. Auburn's win over the second-ranked Florida Gators would put the Tigers right back into the BCS National Championship race, with their ranking moving all the way up to the 8th spot in the latest polls. After one of the biggest wins of the 2006 college football season, the Auburn Tigers would get a nice little non-conference game to calm down with before they jump right back into SEC play. We all know the Tulane Green Wave didn't stand a chance against the Tigers as they would get blown out 38-13. Maybe if this was the current day Green Wave program, this matchup would have probably went a little different, but not back in 2006. While Tulane wouldn't offer up much of a challenge, the Tigers would have to be very careful in their next game on the road against the Ole Miss Rebels. Auburn was eyeing their games against Georgia and Alabama at the end of the season and couldn't afford to get caught sleeping against the Rebels, because in the SEC, anyone can get taken down any given Saturday. Auburn would have to bring their A-game or risk their natty hopes ending in Oxford.
And Dan Warner, the offensive coordinator. Little end around to Miko McSwain. He's got great speed. McSwain to the 10, 5, touchdown. Oh, Miss.
They've got the possibility of getting wide open.
And they will throw it. To the corner, touchdown.
You don't want to settle for 3.
Another toss swing, Lester, touchdown.
I know where I'm going, number 6.
To the back of the end zone, touchdown, Ole Miss. Meaning it'll be a 20-yard field goal for John Vaughn. And he nails it. You can just expect to put it in the book every time he steps on the field.
It wouldn't be pretty, but the Auburn Tigers would survive upset alert on the road against the Ole Miss Rebels, winning 23-17. This win would bring the Tigers' record on the season to 8-1 and their ranking to the 6th spot in the latest polls. After Auburn's win against Ole Miss, they would get another random non-conference game against the Arkansas State Red Wolves before the Tigers would face off in their 2 rivalry games to end the regular season against Georgia and Alabama. There's no reason to hold you guys in suspense. We all know Auburn would win pretty comfortably against the Red Wolves 27-0. There's not really much to speak of from this game. This match was pretty much an extra week of practice for the Tigers. What really mattered was these next 2 games on Auburn's schedule, a home game versus 7-3 Georgia squad, and of course the Iron Bowl to end the season against the 6-5 Alabama Crimson Tide. The SEC race was getting tight, with Auburn having 1 loss in the conference, which was to the team ahead of them, the Razorbacks, who were currently undefeated in SEC play. The Tigers would need to win these 2 brutal rivalry games and hope Arkansas lost their 2, so they would get the chance at the rematch with Florida in the SEC Championship, and possibly use that win to catapult them into the BCS National Championship game. That's a lot of what-ifs, but none of that mattered unless they could win these 2 rivalry games to end the season.
Lumpkin breaks it inside, touchdown Bulldogs!
In that 30 defense, 3 linemen, but they're bringing pressure.
And down goes Brandon Cox.
8 for 11, 115 yards. You take that.
Stafford will throw it again. Pass is caught down at the 1-yard line. 1st and goal from the 1. Sutherland. Did he get in? We're waiting for the signal. Yes, he did.
To run a pattern, you've got to get to that 30-yard line. Don't catch it short.
Picked off. Trey Battle will take it to the end zone. Touchdown. That's the understatement today.
Well, they need to have one right here.
Lester trying to get it done. Still on his feet. Setting up the screen. Here's Lumpkin. He's trying to outrun Will Herring. He does it. Turns a corner. Touchdown.
Kentucky's had a chance at a bowl game.
Brandon Cox, a strike over the middle. It's Rod Smith. That'll be a touchdown.
You're right.
There it is.
Oh.
How effective is that?
Oh. You called it.
Second down. Here's the toss to Lester. Sweep to the right side. 2 to 5. In for must win, he said. They need some help here, and they don't get it. Blitz. All off blitz. Stover's got it, and Stover's got an acre in which to run. Touchdown. Second down. DJ Hall wide to the right side. John Parker Wilson looking a different way. He's got it. 5-6. He's going to bring 6. Cox in the corner. Man coverage. Receiver open. Touchdown. Auburn. The director occupies the booth next to us in the press box, and they left early. The disappointment for the entire athletic department at Alabama is overwhelming, and the thumbs are up for the Auburn Tigers.
Unfortunately, the Auburn Tigers would split these two rivalry games, losing to Georgia 37-15 and taking down Alabama 22-15. First Georgia, I really don't know what happened. It was just pure domination by the Bulldogs. They wouldn't let Auburn get anything going on offense, holding the Tigers only 171 yards of total offense, as well as forcing 4 turnovers. While on the other side of the ball, the Georgia offense would have their way with the Auburn defense, totaling 446 yards in this ugly loss for the Tigers. Auburn would bounce back in their final regular season game of the season against Alabama, winning 22-15, putting their final record on the regular season at 10-2. I know that loss against Georgia must have really sucked, but even if the Tigers had won, they still wouldn't have made it to the SEC Championship game, as the Arkansas Razorbacks would finish SEC play with only 1 loss. Also, let's say if Auburn did win those 2 games, they would have still been left out of the BCS National Championship game, as Ohio State was 12-0, ranked at the number 1 spot in the country, and Florida would hold on to that number 2 spot. But if there is a bright side, at least Auburn did beat the 2006 national champs, the Florida Gators. Now, while Auburn wasn't playing in the Natty, they still had a big-time bowl game scheduled against the 22nd ranked Nebraska Cornhuskers in the Cotton Bowl. And while some might consider this season a disappointment, the Tigers had still won 10 games, and if they could finish the year strong with the win against Nebraska, 2006 would still go down as one of the better years in program history.
The Cotton Bowl Bash here on Fox. A sellout crowd, as you would expect. A perfect day in Dallas.
As back alongside Zach Taylor, who's going to throw it. Touchdown. He's the lone setback this time. Out quick. Intercepted by Auburn's. Dede down the sideline. Dede could go all the way. Tripped up from behind. Fake is to Irons. The pass to Carl Tishner is the punter. And the ball's loose and Auburn has it. And Irons. Stewart. Into the end zone. Second touchdown of the day for the fullback. Big hole, and Jackson will tie this game for Auburn if the extra point is good for Nebraska. Nebraska showing blitz, and they blitz it. Good! Wow. Courtney Taylor jumped over the top of the defender. Plenty of leg. And good as Auburn takes the lead. Here's Taylor. Going to throw it as far as he can. Eric Block came down with it. And that's the game. Auburn